Your genes are changing right now, and it's not your parents' fault. It's what you thought about 10 minutes ago. Today, I prove it and show you exactly how to use it to fix your frame. We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
It's true. It's damn true. It's Friday, baby. Who's excited for the weekend? I'm taking Nurse Chick to the rodeo tonight. Should be fun. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer. I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. Now, right now, inside your body, genes are switching on and off based on what you're thinking. Today's episode is about an ancient idea called the law of correspondence, as above, so below, and how quantum physics, DNA, and epigenetics are proving the Hermeticists were right thousands of years before science caught up. Because once you get this, you stop being a guy who reacts to his life and you start being a guy who's actually running it. It's going to get deep into some wild stuff, guys, but stick around because by the end of the show, you're going to understand exactly how to use this to change your results. Now, today, we're on chapter 2 in my book series based on my upcoming book, The Kybalion Revisited. I just submitted the audiobook files for review on Wednesday, so we're looking at an August 5th release of the audiobook if all goes well. But chapter 2 is all about the Hermetic law of correspondence, the holographic universe theory, and epigenetics. And the law of correspondence says, as above, so below, as below, so above, as within, so without, and as without, so within. Okay. Now, you can see this in the physical world. Okay. Look at fractal geometry. If you look at a coastline, from like a satellite image, coastline looks, has the same jagged shape, whether you're looking at 1,000 miles of it, or as you go in and you see a mile of it, it's got the same jagged coastline. And as you go in 1,000 feet from it, it's got the same jagged shape. It's pretty fascinating. Okay. The pattern doesn't change with scale. You can see this with something like a pineapple. With a pineapple will have a certain amount of stripes going one way and a certain amount of stripes going the other way. And it'll be like that on like all the way around. It'll have like, I think it's 13 total stripes. It's like a specific number. It's been mathematically shown that like all of them will have that, right? It's pretty fascinating. Okay. The same repeating structure shows up in river systems, branching into streams, your lungs branching into smaller passages, lightning bolts, the neurons in your brain, everything like that. What's fascinating is for the longest time, mathematicians couldn't figure out the math for odd shapes in nature, right? Because all we had up to a certain point was Euclidean geometry. And then this guy named Benoit Mandelbrot figured out fractal geometry, which was able to calculate the mathematics of some of these things. And what he found is that at all scales, the patterns repeat themselves. It's pretty fascinating. I found this image. There's lots of these images online just to sort of, illustrate what I'm talking about here. But it's pretty fascinating when you see this stuff next to each other. And I should have been more prepared for this. Where are you? Is this it? This is it. Check this out. This is like correspondent. Let me hide this for a second here. But right, like in these types of weird shapes show up at all scales of the universe, right? You have the human eye, looks very similar to a nebula. You've got the death of a star, but the birth of a cell. They all look very similar. You've got this image of the universe next to brain cells. Like all this type of stuff is the same at the macro as it is at the micro. It's pretty fascinating. Okay. So the Hermeticists said, as above, so below. It's going to be like this, and now we're able to mathematically see this, right? But Benoit Mandelbrot proved this mathematically in the 1970s, 80s, and but the Hermeticists have known this for thousands of years. The Hermeticists called it the law of correspondence, right? As above, so below. As below, so above. And if you ever read Neville Goddard also adds so within, so without. I don't know who first started saying that, as within, so without. It might have been Goddard that was saying that, because the original Kybalion doesn't say that. It says as above, so below, as below, so above, right? But what they infer in the Kybalion is that your mental state does impact the outer state. So I can see why people would extrapolate from that, right? But they said that everything that happens on any of these three planes of existence, you have the great plane of the mental, physical, and spiritual plane, that all happens on all planes of existence. But you could also see it from the biggest scale, the cosmos, down to the smallest scales. Just look at the planets orbiting the stars and particles orbiting a nucleus, right? By the way, guys, hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe and hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Fridays are all about mental frame, right? Your mindset. So you're like, what does fractal geometry have anything to do with my mindset? We'll get to it. Don't worry. Don't worry, okay? There's just a lot of cool sciencey stuff that we got to sprinkle on to make this sound cooler. And here's one thing that I really want you guys to take away from all of this, okay? Because a lot of guys are like, man, Paul, I just can't get into this woo-woo stuff. I can't get into this quantum stuff. I can't get into this neuroscience stuff. You don't have to. That's what's great about it. Okay. What's great about it is that your subconscious mind really only sees things in metaphors and symbols and pictures, right? So if I could give you something to visualize, something to think about that puts things in a perspective, that makes you see things from a different point of view, your subconscious actually takes it in better, and it will help you with your mental frame better. So you don't have to believe in the woo-woo. You don't have to believe in the quantum science stuff. You just have to follow the directions. It's pretty simple. Okay. There is a method to the madness here. What I love about Hermetic philosophy. So this is the original Kybalion book, which I expanded on in the new book, adding what we know about science now versus what they knew in 1908. And this is all based on Hermetic philosophy that's been around for thousands of years, right? But what I love about it is it gives you just the perfect framework to work on your mindset and have more of a positive mindset and actually take control of your life. That's what I love about it. You know what I mean? It's like you don't even have to believe in the woo-woo. You could just look at it from a psychological perspective. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's talk about quantum entanglement a little bit. Okay. Now, quantum entanglement is pretty fascinating. Once two particles interact to become entangled, changing one instantly changes the other, no matter the distance between them, even in theory across the galaxy. This has actually been tested over in CERN. They took two particles, they like rubbed them together or something like that so that they got quantumly entangled. And then they sent them down tubes like miles in each direction. And then the scientists were able to manipulate one and make it spin like to the right. The one on the other end of town instantly started spinning the same direction. It's pretty fascinating stuff. Okay. Now think about something. Scientists all basically agree that the Big Bang happened. And the idea was that everything in the known universe, all matter was compacted into a tiny particle, like smaller than the tip of this pen here. Right. And that exploded outward and expanded into the known universe. And it's still expanding. Scientists are able to measure this stuff. They're able to see that it's still expanding from the Big Bang. But if we were all connected here on the tip of a pen, we're all at some level quantumly entangled, right? There's no signal, no delay, no physical mechanism connecting them. And this has been tested rigorously and confirmed. And Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, right? Now, correspondence essentially says that the part reflects the whole, and entanglement shows that the part was never actually separate from the whole to begin with. Pretty interesting, right? So hold that thought, though, because we're going to talk about how that shows up in the holographic model of the universe. Now, if we all came from the same single point before the Big Bang, does that change how you think about the people in your life? The ones you're connected to and the ones that you've cut off? Let me know in the chat or down below in the replay. You can also drop that answer as a super chat so I can make sure I actually read yours out loud and keep this show running while you're at it. So let's talk about the holographic universe model. Okay. The holographic universe model is pretty interesting. So it's pretty much says that the information describing a 3D region of space can be fully encoded on its 2D boundary surface. This is how scientists are roughly able to extrapolate what's probably in a black hole just based on the surface data on it. You know, it's pretty interesting. It also says, if you ever read Michael Talbot's book, Michael Talbot wrote a phenomenal book on the holographic universe theory. But essentially, what they're saying is that every part of the universe can be, everything about the universe can be discovered from a single particle. Each individual particle of the universe contains all the data for every other part of the universe. So, I mean, if you want to look at the law of correspondence, you know, everything is the same at the various scales, all the way down to the particle level. Okay. Now, the reason why they call it holographic, because a lot of people, there's a lot of theories going on, right? There's this whole virtual reality theory of the universe, which we can talk about some other day. We're not going to talk about today. Well, we might talk about it a little bit, but there's a virtual reality sort of theory of the universe. It's different from the holographic model, though. But the holographic model, the idea of it is that if you take a hologram, right, and you have like a piece of glass that the hologram's showing on, if you like break that glass into millions of pieces, the hologram shows up on each individual piece. It's not like you get little shattered pieces of the image. You get that image on a million different pieces. Okay. That's why they call it a hologram. Not that there's some projector, some magic projector in the sky creating this hologram that we see. That's not why they call it that. Okay. So the holographic model really does sort of talk to what the Hermeticists called, the theory of correspondence. Okay. But if you apply it to the universe itself, this suggests that every region of space encodes information about the whole, and separation is a feature of how it's projected, not how it really is, though. Okay. So if you go down further, every particle of space contains the information of the whole too. We're going to get into it here in a minute, but that's the same in your body. It's the same thing in your body. And this is a little bit easier to understand because of how, like, most people understand like how genes work, at least at the basic level, right? Genes and cells and DNA and all that kind of stuff, right? Now, consider this for a second. If every particle of the universe contains information about the whole universe, and your body is made up of particles, then every particle in your body would tell you something about everything else in the universe, wouldn't it? And if the Hermeticists were right about correspondence, as below, so above, as above, so below, then it would follow that it should work in your body as well. Because what happens on one plane of existence exists on all planes, right? And if it's working in your body, then it's probably working in your mind as well, which it is. Because while David Bohm developed the holographic universe model, Carl Pribram developed the holonomic brain theory, which essentially says that the brain decodes this holographic reality through distributed frequency-based processing. And because it's working in your mind, and we all know that your mind controls your results in life, that means you can use this information to get better results. It's all laid out in my new book, The Kybalion Revisited. Pre-order on Kindle during the break, brother. Why doesn't anyone talk about the book from 1908 that described quantum physics and neuroscience before the equipment existed to test it? Attributed to 3 initiates, 7 principles, and a claim that this is how reality actually operates. There's an axiom buried in that book that rearranges how a man shows up in life once he understands it, and it has nothing to do with luck. In fact, quite the opposite. Hold that thought and look at your life. You're already doing the work. The job, the gym, the bills, the woman in your life. You're putting in effort most guys are too lazy to do. And a lot of it still comes out the same way it came out 5 years ago. You react to what happens instead of causing what happens. The stock market dips, you worry. Your girl pulls back, you scramble. Here's the uncomfortable part. You've been creating those results the whole time on autopilot. The thoughts you repeat without noticing carve physical grooves in your brain, and your life organizes itself around those grooves whether you sign off on it or not. So you keep grinding the outside, not realizing that the inside runs everything. Which brings us to that axiom written down over 100 years ago. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. Nothing in your life merely happened. Every result you've got right now traces back to a cause you set, most of them without knowing you were setting them. You've been operating the law by accident. Those 7 principles explain the mechanism exactly. Modern physics keeps confirming them from the opposite direction. Observation changes how matter behaves. 2 particles stay connected across any distance. Focused human attention produces measurable results under controlled conditions. And here's the part that matters most to you. You don't have to believe in the quantum theory or the neuroscience. You just have to follow the directions, and you will get results. There's no way it can't happen. It's universal law. The Kybalion Revisited lays out the 7 Hermetic principles next to what the research confirms in plain English, then gives you the instructions that turns those principles into results. Pre-order it on Kindle right now. Paperback and hardcover drop July 31st. If you do everything right, 90 days from now, you'll be running a completely different operating system. Pre-order today. Indeed. Let's take a look at the chat here. Brother Wade says, what's good? What's good, man? Friday's good. Am I right? Eric Von Erich says, good morning. Phil says, hoorah. Good to see you, man. Dar Fitness says, happy Friday, gents. Erkin says, for those who are not native English speakers, as above, so below means that the macrocosm, the universe, and the microcosm, the individual, are identical reflections of another. For non-natives like myself. Yeah, which is what we're getting into today, right? Because we talked about the macrocosm, the universe, the holographic model, and how every bit of the universe can be determined from the smallest particle, right? Well, in your own body, we have something very similar. We have this thing called DNA, right? Every cell in your body contains the complete instructions for building you, not just the section relevant to that cell's job. Okay. That DNA has all information about how you are built, and it's in every single cell of your body. If you go and take a leak right now, there's DNA in it. Your DNA is in it. I'm going to give some DNA to Nurse Chick tonight if she plays her cards right. But a liver cell carries the full genetic information for the eyes, the bones, and neurons, even though it will never use most of it, right? The liver's only got the information about, well, it's got the information about the whole body, but it's grown and it's got its own job to do. You know what I mean? But you could take that DNA from a liver cell and you can grow it. And you know, there's different things you could do to turn it into a stem cell. And a stem cell is basically like a blank slate. And then you can turn on different things and turn off different things to grow things. It's pretty fascinating how this all works, right? But you've got roughly 37 trillion cells, and every single one carries the complete architectural plan for the entire organism, right? And speaking of DNA, like I said before, I'm going to be giving Nurse Chick samples of my DNA when she comes over tonight. And in celebration of that, why don't you send a super chat and support the show as well? just you know, in honor of me giving Nurse Chick some DNA tonight. Okay. Now let's talk about junk DNA. Okay. So the human genome only has around 20,000 protein coding genes, a surprisingly small number. And for years, about 98% of DNA was dismissed as junk. Right? They were like, oh, well, only so much of this actually codes proteins. The rest is just filler. It's right. But that actually ended up being wrong. Okay. Large scale research found that non-coding regions are producing molecules that regulate when genes switch on and off. Okay. Now it's not filler. It's the regulatory infrastructure deciding how the blueprint actually gets read and applied. Okay. Now, this is all really fascinating stuff. We're going to get into it more here, but the field of epigenetics, which started coming out of the 70s and 80s, really started showing us all the different things we could do with cells and genes and all that kind of stuff. And for years before that, they thought everything was predetermined, right? You got the genetic code from your family, and there was nothing you could do to change it. Like if there was heart attacks in your family, you're probably going to have a heart attack, right? But they found that all that stuff can be modified. It can be modified. There's different things that modify it. We'll get into that, right? But this is why we could take a stem cell and turn various genes on and off and turn that cell into pretty much anything in the body. Okay. I did some research on it. There's a lot of steps involved, and there's a lot of stuff that scientists would have to do to make this happen, but they could take a cell from your liver, and they could do a process that turns it into a stem cell, and then they can do another process to turn various things on and effectively grow an ear, right? Now they would have to, it would grow like all this, like the cartilage and the skin, all that stuff, and then they would have to do something to shape it. It's quite the process, but they could do it. We have the technology to do this kind of shit, right? But I'm oversimplifying here. Just know that it's possible, okay? And you're probably thinking right now, Paul, what the fuck does DNA and stem cells have anything to do with my mental frame? This is Frame Friday, isn't it? Well, you're right. It is Frame Friday, and I will be tying all this together into how it applies to your mental frame. But before I do, over 100 guys have decided that the best place to work on their mental frame is by working on it together. There's strength in numbers, isn't there? Can you imagine how quickly you can work through problems in your life if you had 100 guys behind you giving you support? Well, you don't have to imagine. All you have to do is sign up for your free trial, because Wolfpack is where men are getting together to work on not just their frame, but game, money, and muscles. Plus, it's just a great place to connect with other men. And we all know how difficult it is to connect with like-minded men these days. So when would now be a good time to run with the wolves, brother? Bear Club? Not anymore.
Wolfpack, you fix what's broken. You lead like a man again. Too sweet. No pity, no therapy. Just fire, just flame. Cold bed, broken home, midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit 24/7. Brothers locked in, steel, not heaven. Step inside the pack. We don't fall, we attack. Truth, fire, presence, we bring it back. Masculine pride.
for the love of God, too sweet me, baby. Let's see here. R. Lopez is in the chat. He sent a fire emoji. Good to see you, man. All right. Now, your thoughts can change your genes. And I just didn't make this up, but there is a really phenomenal book called The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. I highly recommend you read that book. It will blow your mind. It will absolutely blow your mind. But Dr. Bruce Lipton was a pioneer in the field of epigenetics. And he wrote an entire book on this thing because, you know, he was one of the guys that discovered that not just your like outside phenomenon can like impact cells, right? This is like, think about this for a second. From the outside, you could get impacted by stuff like GMOs, pesticides, all that kind of stuff. And that stuff, if you're exposed to it long enough, Agent Orange, right? That kind of stuff over time impacts your cells externally from an external source, impacts your cells, causes things like cancer, whatever. But what Bruce Lipton found was that your thoughts and your emotions impact your physiology, and like how, like where you're holding tension too much and all that kind of stuff impacts the cells too. Your thoughts and emotions, you know, downstream impact cells too. Okay. So gene expression's not fixed. It responds to signals from your bloodstream, nervous system, and the hormonal and chemical state of your body. Okay. And your thoughts influence your body chemistry. Your body chemistry influences your gene expression, and that's an active feedback loop happening in real time. Okay. So if you're a negative person, if you are like pissed off all the time, if you are worrying about stuff all the time, if you have anxiety and you have all that kind of stuff that's causing lots of problems in your body, it's impacting your physiology, and downstream over time, it's impacting you at the cellular level. Okay. So this is the field called epigenetics. Your genome's activity isn't determined solely by your fixed DNA sequence. It's regulated by signals that respond to diet, to stress, and experience. Okay. Now, this shouldn't be too hard to believe. We know that someone who's a raging alcoholic, right? Raging alcoholic, this, especially the external stuff, right? Like drinking too much alcohol damages the liver over time, you know? And so a lot of people end up with cirrhosis of the liver because of drinking too much. Well, what's fascinating is that too much worrying and stress, right? Because of your, you know, how you're thinking about things impacts your body very similarly. Okay. So tying back to the law of correspondence, what happens on the mental plane impacts the body on the physical plane down to the cellular and gene level. All right. This is why it's so important to work on what's up here. Okay. If you're just walking around negative all the time, mad at the world, looking to get into fights, throw hands with people all the time, you know, you're drinking heavily, you have all this stuff going on in your life, it's impacting you at the cellular level. It's impacting you at the cellular level, man. Okay. Don't you like, why do you hate a healthy lifestyle? Why do you hate living longer? You know, it's like, well, why should I like living longer? Life sucks, right? That's because of how you're thinking about it. That's how you're thinking about it. Okay. Oh man. By the way, guys, follow me on social media, would you? The links are in this. Oh, that's not it. This is it. Follow me on social media, would you? The links are in the description for that. Now, here's where we get into more of holographic, not holographic, but virtual reality theory of the universe. But your brain actually filters reality. Okay. In NLP, we talk, the meta model is based off of the fact that your memories that you have, they're not what really happened. None of your memories are what really happened. You're like, no, Paul, I vividly remember this. No, you don't. Okay. Here's the thing. Everything in our minds, right, that we record, it's distorted, it's generalized, and a lot of it's deleted. Okay. Deletion, distortion, generalization. This is something that we learn at NLP. This is what the NLP meta model is based off of. Okay. Your brain gets far more sensory data every second than your conscious mind can process. So it runs a filtering system to decide what gets through. Okay. So think about this for a second. You have 5 senses, right? You have vision, you have hearing, you have smelling, you have touch, and you have taste. Okay. All of this sensory data is coming in, and it literally, you have millions of data points coming at you per second. And if your conscious mind processed all of it, you would fucking die. You would go insane and you would die because it would be too much information. It would be processing overload. So we were given a feature that filters out most of it. So what you see around you, what you hear around you, what you smell, all that kind of stuff is stuff that your brain has deemed important enough to show you. Okay. What you see around you right now isn't real. It's data interpreted by your brain in a skull. All right. And your skull is in a dark bone cavity. It's never seen the light of day, but it's what's determining what you're perceiving as reality. Okay. This filter mechanism is called the Reticular Activating System, and it's calibrated by your existing beliefs and expectations and assumptions. Okay. It's not neutral. So most of those beliefs, expectations, and assumptions were programmed into you before you were 5 years old. We call these paradigms. Okay. And you've developed more paradigms as you get older and you experience other things, but pretty much everything around you, what you're being shown and what the story about it that you're telling yourself is all based on past beliefs, assumptions, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So there's other things going on around you that you're not even noticing. It's not that it magically is there or not there. And it's just that your mind doesn't see it. This is the deletion part of our minds, right? Deletions, distortions, generalizations. Okay. Your mind just doesn't even show you this stuff. Okay. It's pretty fascinating stuff, right? So if you buy a specific truck and suddenly you notice that truck's everywhere, the trucks were always there. Your internal filter just wasn't flagging them before. This is something I don't really promote it that much, but I have a practical law of attraction course. If you go to loa.comeonmanpod.com, it was like one of my first courses I ever put out. I talk about this, right? Because you can use the same type of thing in your life to find women that you are more attracted to, that would be a better fit for you. You can use this reticular activating system part of your mind. Okay. I'll tell you how to do it here in a second. It's sort of off topic from the Kybalion, but I just want to show you how you can use this stuff in your life. Okay. So I talk about it in Everything I Wish I Knew when I was 18, but I talk about this thing called the Contenders list, right? And I talk about this quite a bit on the podcast, but there's a method to the madness here. Okay. Most guys know what they don't want in a woman. Most guys absolutely know what they don't want. Okay. So they focus on that. I don't want a girl with tattoos. I don't want a girl that does drugs. I don't want a single mom. I don't want fat girls, right? Whatever it is, right? I don't want. The thing is that our minds don't handle negation very well. They don't understand the negative. So when you're focusing on what you don't want, your mind just hears the thing and goes, oh, this must be important to him. Let me show him more of that. So then all you see are chicks with tattoos. You see chicks that have drug problems. You see single moms out there. You see fat chicks. This is all you see, right? And it's not that the chicks that would be better for you aren't there. You're just not, your mind's not showing them to you. Okay. So they're invisible. Okay. So what you want to do is create a contenders list and list out the things that you want. Sure, you want to list out the things you don't want just because that's going to give you red flags and yellow flags, but you want to focus on this list here. Okay. If you focus more on what you want in a woman, you'll start seeing all sorts of chicks with those qualities everywhere. And it'll be like, where the fuck? The smorgasbord of hot chicks is everywhere. And they all have these same, this is amazing. Where did they come from? Out of the woodwork. Fucking weird. That's weird, right? It's not that they magically materialized out of the ether, right? Like law of attraction would have you believe they've manifested, right? They were always there. You just didn't see them before because your mind was hiding them because you were focused on all the shit you don't want. You understand? Because your brain filters reality. Now, you can go into the same room and have a different experience as like two guys can walk into the same room and have a completely different experience. Okay. So two men can walk into same room, different experiences of it based on nothing but their internal filtering systems. Right. One notices possibilities. The other one notices obstacles. One notices the person we're talking to. The other notices reasons not to bother. Okay. But it's the same space. This is why guys get different results, right? In the same, if you give them like the same circumstances, one guy will get better results than another guy. And it's all because of up here and how they're looking at things and the stories they tell themselves and all that kind of stuff. Okay. It's interesting. We have lots of good guys in the wolf pack now, right? We've got guys that have been in there, for a long ass time. We've got guys that are relatively new. And it's fascinating to watch the differences in guys' results with things. It's like there's certain guys that can trip over an old shoe and fall into a chick's pussy, right? Like they just are always getting laid constantly. And then there's the guys that are just constantly struggling. There's guys that are just like, right. They can't get out of their own way. And I've just been noticing this over the past like couple of months because we've got a couple of guys that, one guy's been in the group for almost a year now, and he's just fucking killing it dating. He's going out and just slaying poon. It seems like every other day, right? And he's taking chicks out on coffee and ice cream dates and shit, right? Just fucking all these chicks, going like anal on the first date type shit, right? Like wild stuff. And then there's another guy who recently just joined, and he's a business owner, and he's kind of interesting because he's kind of hung up on this one chick, but because he's got status and stuff like that, he's got unlimited access to pussy everywhere all the time. And so we're trying to get him like off this one chick and be like, dude, take advantage of this stuff. Just fuck all these chicks. And so he's like, I swear he's got a different chick every fucking night too, right? And then there's guys who they can't, they still try to nice guy their way into stuff, and they're just not getting the same results with women. And it's like, none of them are better looking or anything. None of them have, six pack. Well, one of them might have six pack abs, but they're no better looking or younger or whatever than any other guy in the group, right? They're just regular guys getting completely different results because of what they're willing to do and like how they're seeing the situation. It's pretty fascinating to watch. It reminds me of, I've been watching the series You with my son, and we just finished season 1, but this chick that the main character, if you guys haven't seen the TV show You, it's on Netflix. The main character is a stalker, right? He gets obsessed with these chicks and he starts stalking them like crazy, total blue pill simp type guy. Well, he's talking to the chick that he's obsessed with in season 1, and she's telling him about her first kiss, right? And she's talking about how, she went with this one guy and it was this perfect experience. And it was under the stars. And he goes, oh, and then you kissed him? And she goes, no, he was too afraid to make a move. He goes, oh, well, when was your first kiss? She goes, oh, it was 3 days later at this party with his best friend. Because she's like, I didn't even really like his best friend, but his best friend was bold enough to make a move. And so we ended up making out the whole night. And it was like, that's the difference, right? Like this one guy's trying to nice guy his way into a chick's pants by being respectful and fucking not making a move and all this kind of stuff and being too timid to fucking go for shit. And then the guy who gets the chick is the guy who says, fuck it, let's go, right? Fuck it, full send. Right? They probably look very similar. You know what I mean? But it's same type of situation, completely different results. I had the same thing twice with my one of my best friends in high school. You know, like his brother's in my wolf pack right now. I feel really shitty about this because I was not a very good friend at this time, right? But 2 times this happened. One time at a homecoming dance, I had a date, and my friend had a date, and his date was fully hot, just super hot. She didn't go to our school. He knew her. You know, she was like homeschooled or something, but she was like a neighbor down the street from his dad's house, and so he drove all 4 of us. All 4 of us went in his car. And when we got to the dance, the girl I went with, she wanted to go dance with her friends and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to be a third wheel with your fucking friends. So I was not dancing with my date. But my friend didn't like to dance. So he and his date were just sitting around being wallflowers. So because my date was occupied with her fucking friends, I went over and I said, hey, man, do you mind if I dance with your date since you're not dancing with her? And he's like, oh, no, go ahead. I don't like dancing. And so I ended up dancing with his date, and she and I ended up making out the whole night. And he was pretty pissed at me for that one. But she didn't like either of us. At the end of that, she and I ended up making out all night, but she didn't want anything to do with either of us because I think she didn't want to, like, you know, get involved in our friendship and stuff like that. So that didn't work out for me. But then he and I were working at Safeway. And he and I were working graveyard shift doing, you know, stocking shelves and stuff like that. And I was in the cat food section, the dog food section, and he was over like doing shampoos and, you know, that kind of stuff. Anyway, he goes, hey man, I got to show you something. And he shows me this box of hair color, and the model on the box looked like this one chick that we knew from Conifer High School, which is like our rival high school. He goes, this is that chick. This is her. He goes, this is a sign. She's been staring at me every night. This is the chick. I'm going to make my move on her. And I was like, oh yeah. She is pretty hot. You're absolutely right about that. Right. Well, anyway, like maybe a week later, I transferred back to Days, and I went to the dairy department, and I'm stocking, you know, fucking milk and eggs and stuff like that. And she comes walking in the store, and I see her, and I was like, oh, hey, what's going on? You know, haven't talked to you in a while. You're like, we should get together sometime. And so I ended up asking her out on a date, and then he found out about it. He was pretty pissed at me about it. And I was like, hey man, may the best man win. You know, let's, you know, go ahead and ask her on a date. Let's see who she picks. And so I went on a first date with her, and I fucking went in for a kiss, and she ended up dating me for 6 months. I lost my virginity to that chick. My friend was pissed at me for stealing his chick again. You know what I mean? Because I was a dick. Like that. I don't recommend doing that sort of thing, but you know, men's sexual strategy and all that. So anyway, and he's not less attractive than I am. Like he and I would say would be like equal attractiveness level. It's just that I was bold enough to make a move. He wasn't, you know what I mean? Like those are the differences. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the body's electromagnetic field for a second. Like hell of a segue though, right? Okay. So your heart and brain produce an electromagnetic field that research has measured extending several feet outside your body in every direction. Your inner state isn't contained inside your skin. It's broadcasting whether you're aware of it or not. And other people read these signals without knowing they're reading them. The world responds to what you're actually running on the inside, not your managed surface presentation. Now you might be thinking, Paul, this isn't fucking energy field that we're picking up, is body language, it's tone, shit like that. Okay. In NLP, I've learned that yes, you're picking up on body language and tone, and most of that's being picked up subconsciously. It's pretty fascinating. The hand gestures and stuff like that. Most people aren't paying attention to hand gestures and stuff like that. You could, if you ever watch Richard Bandler was one of the founders of NLP. He used to like to set anchors by saying stuff like, send a super chat. You know what I mean? Like he would say stuff like that, and he would make a hand gesture like this, and he would do that enough time in the conversation, like send a super chat, you know, and do that sort of thing. And people would eventually, whenever he would do that kind of thing, they would send super chats. You know what I mean? Like they didn't have super chats back then, but do you see what I'm saying here? Like that sort of thing, that he would set a visual anchor like that, and that would cause people to start thinking a certain way. So one way he would actually do this, he wouldn't do that to send a super chat. He would do that to get people to be excited for a presentation of his. So what, like one thing he would do to anchor that sort of state was he would start off his presentation by having everyone close their eyes and then think back to a time when they were really enthusiastic about watching something. Maybe it was a movie, or maybe it was a play, or maybe it was a sporting event, and they were super excited. And let's say it was a sporting event and it was like their team did such a good job. They totally blew it out, or they came back from, certain annihilation and ended up winning the whole thing. And they were super pumped and excited, and he wants them to get into that state. And he goes, now open your eyes. Okay, now let's have a presentation, right? Because they're in that state because they mentally went back to there, right? So that's one of the things that I've learned about NLP. But going back to the body language thing, people, they subconsciously don't really notice those types of body language type things. Okay. Now we also have a proprioceptive nervous system that picks up other sensory vibrational signals. Okay. It's what allows us to have spatial awareness, to essentially know where our hands are at any given time in space. Okay. And if you put your hand close to something, right, don't touch it, but just get like within a few centimeters of it, it's almost like you can feel that sensation coming from that object. That's your proprioceptive nervous system. Okay. So you can also feel when someone's looking at you, right? You could be doing something and you just get this inkling and you look and someone's staring at you. We've all experienced that, right? I used to test this out when I was a kid. I didn't know what it was, but I would sit in the back seat of my parents' car. Like they would be driving down to Denver or something like that. And I would be in the back seat and I would just be staring at the other vehicles, like pulling up next to us and passing us, or we were passing them. And I would stare at people in the cars next to us, and they would always be doing whatever and then look over, right? They could be anything. They could be sitting there talking to someone, like someone in the back seat of their car talking, and all of a sudden they will literally turn around because I'm staring at them. Okay. People can feel that. That's your proprioceptive nervous system. Your energy does actually project outside of you, and people can feel that shit. Okay. People can feel that shit. Paul, that's too woo-woo for me. That's too woo-woo for me. Okay. Well, then you explain it. You explain it then. So how does this all impact your mental frame? Okay. Well, our internal pattern causes external results. We're going to really get into this in the cause and effect chapter, but your internal pattern shapes perception. Perception shapes interpretation. Interpretation shapes decisions. Decisions shape action, and action shapes the outcome that reinforces the original pattern. Okay. So there's nothing mystical about this mechanism. It's causal and sequential, one linking directly to the next one. Okay. So that means that the results in your life have come from decisions you've made, from decisions you decided not to make, opportunities you saw, opportunities you missed. All that kind of stuff has created what's going on in your life right now. It's all started up here. Okay. So what's really cool about this is a lot of people, they don't like their current state. They don't like what's happening now. They want to change it in the future, and they don't know how, right? And they beat themselves up for how they are now. But the thing is, you need to understand that your results now are not because of who you are. They're because of who you were. Okay. When would now be a good time to change what's going on in the future? Right. So disciplining your mind means taking deliberate control of those patterns, and consistent directed mental effort over time produces structural change in your brain, the same way consistent training changes a muscle. Okay. Once you change what's going on within, You will start seeing results without. There's no way it can't happen. It's universal law. Okay. But that's all we got for this episode. Pretty wild stuff. If you listen to the audiobook, because I was listening to this chapter on repeat because I just finished recording this, on Wednesday. And to get ahead of this episode, it just really, nail down, what it is that I'm trying to say in this chapter. I went back and listened to the audiobook again because it's funny. I've gotten to the place writing my books where I'm like Aaron Clarey. I used to, when I was reading books, especially if I was going to have that author on the show, I would read their books ahead of time. And then like any cool thing I would find in their book, I would put it out as a quote tweet or something. And I was doing that for Clarey. And every time I do that shit, Clarey goes, I wrote that? I said that? And I'm like, how do you not know what the fuck you wrote? Like you're the one that wrote this shit. And now I get it, right? After 7 books or whatever, I'm like, it all just sort of blends together. And I'm like, what the fuck was I trying to say with all that shit? But that's it. The whole point of all of this is mindset. That's what the whole point of this book is, right? Like forget the woo, forget the universe. It's all a framework for your mindset and how to handle life. Okay. But that's all we got. Let's see what's in the chat right now. Oh shit. We got a $5,000 super chat from Dar Fitness. We're going to shame these whores for him.
Shame this horse.
Yes, that's what we want to do. Woody Riley says, what's up, big dog? Time to edge the algo. One big thing that helped me get over the limerence and withdrawal was making myself aware that those good times and memories weren't really what happened, just what my mind wanted me to believe about the situation. There was probably some good times, not everything's 100% bad, but probably didn't happen. Like your mind's purposefully leaving out all the bad times, right? Then when I was able to look at it objectively and realize those good times weren't so good, and in fact, I was just a beta whipping post and was used to relegate emotions and get shit on. Don't forget the feet, Paul. Never forget the feet. Freak nasty over here. You know what, Woody? I used to have a super chat like for guys that were in like foot fetish guys. And it was like, if it was a foot fetish video for guys that would send a $30 super chat, I would play that video. It was just pictures of chicks' feet and stuff. And every once in a while, you would get the freak nasty feet guys on. They'd be like, oh yeah, 30, let's see them toes, bro. Let's see them toes. Yeah. Foot fetish guys are the most boldest of the freaks. You know what I mean? All right, guys, AI's going to clip that. That's all I got for this episode, guys. Definitely check out the book when it comes out. It's in pre-release now. The link's in the description for the Kybalion Revisited. If this stuff seems fascinating to you, you want to know more about this kind of stuff, the neuroscience, the epigenetics, the quantum theory. Like I really go in depth in the book on this stuff and then how it ties into the Hermetic principles. But really, the book is about your mindset. That's really what it's about. Okay. Tune into the podcast on Monday. We're on chapter 7 of Dicker Downright. So far, every single one of these episodes have been completely demonetized. So that's how good they are. We're up to chapter 7, which is all about dirty talk and role play in the bedroom. That might be the most powerful chapter in the book, because once you understand the power of dirty talk to a woman, it's a game changer. It's a fucking game changer. And we're going to talk about it more on Monday, but a lot of the dirty talk examples in the book are embedded suggestions. They're NLP embedded suggestions, which go right past the critical factor, right into her subconscious mind to create an experience for her to where she's literally addicted to your dick. Okay. So tune into that on Monday. That's some fun shit. That's all we got. We will go ahead and like, subscribe, hit those notifications, and we will see you guys on Monday. Have a good weekend.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.